Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Snakebite. I'm Carl Van Gelder and that is not Asher, that's Jacob Zanola joining us today. I told you we'd rotate through some co-anchors and we're doing it again today. Very excited for what we have to cover. A ton of history on the books from this past week. Men's soccer, women's soccer, cross country, of course. Let's roll that intro. The number 15 team in the country put the nation on notice this past weekend with the back-to-back SSC champion men's cross-country team coming in 6th overall at the Lewis crossover. With their 6th place finish, the men finished just 1 point behind number 14 Pittsburgh State and number 12 Chico State. Chico State was coming in number 8 in the country. The Mocs were right there with them. The Mocs were the highest climbers this past week in the national poll, rising 6 spots, and this competition saw the return of Christian Giller, who ran a season's best of 24:21 to find 13th overall and lead the 6 other Mocs who found themselves in the top 85 and 6 total that were under 25 minutes. Following Giller was sophomore Eli Zupa in 24:44, with the rest of the top 6 all finding themselves under 24:55, the most Mocs ever under the 25-minute barrier at a competition or in a season. Thanks to his strong performance, Giller was named SSC Runner of the Week this past week, his first of the season, but one of many if you've been following him. The ladies also made the trip up, not finding the same success as they struggled, finishing 28th out of 36 teams. Rachel Hockenberry, the senior, was the top Moc, running a season's best of 22:55. Hockenberry was the lone Moc in the top 100, placing 57th overall. Both teams return to action this afternoon at the Ed Holloway Classic, where the B teams will look to compete for the final roster spots for the regional.
Men's soccer traveled to Tampa on Wednesday, facing off against the number 24 ranked University of Tampa. FSC recorded their first shutout in over a month, having gone through a rough stretch in which they allowed 16 goals in a span of 7 matches. The first half was rather even, as the Mocs got off 4 shots compared to the Spartans' 3 shots. Florida Southern had 8 shots in the second half, while Tampa only had 5. Defense was the key factor for both teams, with the match ending in a 0-0 draw. The Mocs logged 4 shots on goal, with sophomore Hector Oliver responsible for a pair of those shots. Goalkeeper Lassie Deppner bounced back after the rough stretch, earning 2 saves, keeping the score tied for all 90 minutes. It was a statement draw for the Mocs, who were able to gain a lot of momentum by holding the ranked Spartans and their offense at bay. Men's soccer now holds a record of 4-5-2 and will face off against number 16 ranked Florida Tech on Saturday at home. The Mocs have a 2-1 record at Barron Field this year and will look to take advantage of their home field advantage to get their first ranked win of the season in their 4th ranked matchup of the year. Tune in on the Sunshine State Conference Digital Network or pull up at Barron Field at 7.
And that was a huge tie for men's soccer. They've now won last year at Tampa and now tying this year at Tampa again. So the Mocs men looking great, but the women are looking even better right now. Carly Brodsky is continuing to rewrite the record books for women's soccer, this time setting a new record for overall shutouts in a season with 9. Going into our last show, the Mocs had 7 on the season, 1 away from tying the program record held by Jenny Staten, who has her name written all over the record books until this season, when this Mocs backline and Brodsky have really hit the ground running. To find shutout number 8 of the year, the Mocs took on a familiar foe in Edward Waters, where most of the usual starters got some much-needed rest in the second half in a game that saw Bria Weldon find the first goal right out the gates, scoring in the first minute for her 3rd goal of the year. Isabella Payne soon followed with one of her own before the 3rd goal of the half came by way of Sierra Spurk. In this one, the Mocs weren't tested as much as they held Edward Waters to 0 corners and 0 shots on goal, compared to the Mocs' 9 corners and 13 shots on goal in 27 attempts. The Mocs then had to defend home against the number 5 in the SSC, Tampa Spartans, coming to town, starting the Mocs' treacherous journey over the next few conference competitions. Tampa came in looking to fire away shots and limit opponent runs, and they did so pretty well. Tampa had control of the game for the first 30-ish minutes before the Mocs looked to shift the game in their favor. They began to build up their momentum before an injury to Riley Hasagawa put a halt on the game. The ladies looked to rally for their star forward, but as the game continued, they were just unable to develop meaningful opportunities on the offensive end, ending the game 0-0. Women's soccer now sits with a 7-1-2 record and are tied third in the conference with their next matchup, receiving votes Florida Tech, who they'll take on tomorrow night in Melbourne.
The volleyball team continued its strong season last weekend, hosting Rollins and Eckerd at home, where the Mocs showed their resilience yet again. Against Rollins, the Mocs fell behind early, losing the first set by a score of 25-21. They shook off the set loss and bounced right back, sweeping the Tars in the next 3 sets by final scores of 25-17, 25-19, and 25-20. Lindsay Pichtel led the team with 9 kills against Rollins, just one ahead of Bally Coles, who had 8. The Mocs took advantage of excellent serving with 11 aces across the 4 sets. Morgan Ward had 3, while Coles and Brielle Mullen each had 2. Tori Burton led the team with 16 assists, while Nako Sasaki had 15 digs on the day. Whitney Mall and Layla Visser helped out Sasaki defensively with 6 and 5 blocks respectively. The Mocs kept the offense rolling on Saturday, now facing off against Eckerd, where they kept the Jenkins Fieldhouse squeaky clean, sweeping the Tritons out of the building. Eckerd battled early as the Mocs won the first set 25-23, before being forced to extend the second set to a 27-25 win, thanks to an error by Eckerd that was followed by a kill from Coles to end the set. The final set was very much less taxing for the Mocs, as they won it decisively, 25-17. Similar to Friday, Pichtel led the squad in kills with 13, followed by Coles, who had 12. Borton was a huge offensive catalyst with 1 ace and 16 assists. Sasaki continued her defensive dominance with 24 digs. The ladies now boast a 10-4 record on the year, good for the 4th rank in the SSC. Their talent will be put to the test this Friday, with the games against number 3 ranked Barry and reigning national champs number 8 ranked Lynn, both at George W. Jenkins Fieldhouse right here in Lakeland.
Both swim teams dominated this past week in their dual meet against the Florida Tech Panthers at home, where familiar faces shined and newcomers looked to make their mark on the early part of the season. In Coach Stephen Bostic's Moxon coaching debut, the men led the way early and often. The shining star of the competition was Daniel Mazzaros, who won the 200 free, 100 free, and 400 free relay, where he was the opening leg. With his major contributions to the Mocs' dominant 180-82 win, he was named SSC Male Swimmer of the Week. The win had a similarly strong showing of their own depth with a 179.5 to 82.5 win. Zoe Selly and Elizabeth Sykes dominated as usual, but they weren't the only ones, as the freshman trio of Alexandra Alkis alias Natalie True and Rania Kalicki gave the Mocs a lot to look forward to this season. Each of those freshmen won at least one individual event, as well as majorly contributing in the relays. Both teams will be competing at the Reisman Aquatic Center in a dual meet against the University of Tampa, who is no joke of a program. The men's team was the national runner-up last year, and the women, they were not too shabby, 6th placed at the national competition.
The Mocs hockey team regained their footing this weekend in a series sweep of the Jacksonville University Dolphins. The first game was a back and forth with 5 different goal scorers contributing in that 5-3 win that saw Colton Wyden put the nail in the coffin with 2 minutes left in the win. FSC had to fight for the sweep, but pulled out a 5-4 win thanks to Hunter Rice scoring the game winner in the 3rd period. Will Marshall added 2 goals, with Wyden and Michael Catazone both adding a goal in this one. The Mocs closed out the 3-game weekend with a nail-biter against the University of Florida. Unfortunately, the Gators took that one, winning 4-3. The hockey team will have a month off before returning to home ice against Florida Tech here on November 14th.
The Mocs men and women played in tournaments this past week. The #1 story for Mocs golf is alumnus John Vanderlyn. He's headlining athletics news for earning his 2026 PGA Tour membership. This season on the Corn Ferry Tour, Vanderlyn played in 25 events, scoring top 25 9 times and winning 1 event on August 21st at the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. This is the first time a former Moc has earned his tour card since alumnus Geoff Clark did it in 2009. During his time at FSC, Vanderlyn was a 4-time All-American who individually won 11 tournaments, including a national title at the 2018 NCAA Division II National Championship. Going back to the current Mocs, it's been a week that they don't want to think about too much. Both finished 9th in their respective tournaments, and they'll look to wipe that from their minds and improve upon it in the coming weeks. The next one for the men will be on October 20th and 21st in the Fripp Island to Bermuda Invite. Try saying that 3 times fast. While the women will head to St. Leo Invitational on the same dates.
Both the men's and women's tennis team competed at the YTF Invite in Lakeland. where both teams faced off against a number of teams, ranging from conference opponents to local NAIA schools. The men saw success at home, with several players reaching the semifinals, with 𝙏𝙃𝙀 𝙎𝙉𝙼𝙆 leading the way, winning 4 straight before falling in the final. The Mocs competing in doubles found similar success, with 4 pairings making it to the semifinal. The ladies also had a strong tournament, with Josie Holderbach reaching the singles final and FSC dominating doubles, with pairs of Jolie Miller and Annika Behrendorf facing off against Kennedy Brown and Ellen Axler in an all-FSC final that will take place later this week. Both teams will return to action after fall break, with the men making the trip to Daytona and the ladies staying.
And that will do it for this week's edition of the Snakebite. A big shout out to our Warski team as well, as they are getting ready to compete in nationals right now. We'll have a lot more to talk with you. Men's cross country, they're getting ready for postseason action. Obviously, Warski is getting it going, and let's see how many more wins this women's soccer team can add on. See you next time here on the Snakebite.